Hello and welcome back to the Oh No 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 podcast. Now, in a weekend fixture list that's caught the eye of the press, Rovers are going to be taking on Dougie Imrie's Greenock Morton in the battle between 7th place and 8th place. Morton were knocked out of the SPFL Trust Trophy. I don't know if we can go into bubble popping territory yet there with that, but that's for our friends down in Ayrshire. As they were knocked out by Livingston during the week, so we'll be looking to see if Rovers can compound their misery. I'm your host, Robbie Weir, and as ever, delighted to be joined firstly by Allan Douglas-Munn. Allan, how are you getting on?
I'm doing good, mate. Yeah. Another week nearly over and done with, and soon be back to the football. So yeah, it's all good.
Looking forward to a home game. It feels after the sort of night games under the lights, it's going to be good to get back to a Saturday afternoon.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Scott Fleming, how you doing, Scott?
Yeah, all good. As Allan's saying, just glad to almost get Saturday here again, get the football. It is always quite funny just how we've been saying early in the season how it was getting to a point where we're kind of dreading Saturdays, and now we're kind of getting excited again, almost like it was last season. But no, and I mean, we're this is the last. I think I checked anyway, if it's correct, that this is the last home game for almost a month. So it'll be good to.
Yeah, I was
get 3 points in it.
I was chatting away with John Greer about that actually, because I think you've got this one, and then we've got maybe a game one at the sort of end of next month, or a couple maybe next month, and then after that we've got barely any in January. Really strange time. And then certainly by no means least, Blair Hopcroft. How you doing, Blair?
Very well, mate. Very well. Looking forward to getting into all things Dougie Imrie.
Of course we are. Good job that nobody's got a track record of clipping these podcasts and using them for their own favourability. I was loving the fact that he was laughing away at my sound bites from last time. Still wouldn't take him as manager, even if you scud us 5-0.
No.
No.
Anyway, firstly, big news coming out of Stark Spark yesterday. The secret is out. Scott Brown, 2-year contract extension. Allan, just going to ask yourself, firstly, how important do you think it is we're getting bits of business like that done early?
Massive, mate. I honestly didn't know until a couple of weeks ago that Brown was at the contract at the end of the year. I hadn't clocked it, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, right, we need to get him signed up. There's a massive hole in our midfield when he's not in it. He's kind of in a funny way, he's a kind of unsung hero because we all know how good he is. But I don't really think he gets recognition outside of the Rovers support. I really don't think he does. He never comes into the conversation of folk talking about who the best kind of midfielders are in the division. And I honestly don't think I'd swap him for anyone in the league. He's a massive player for us, and getting him tied down, I think, was a really big, a really important bit of business, because hopefully it kind of sees at least a couple of others follow suit as well.
Yeah, he might be the only Scott Brown in the Championship going quite soon. We'll see. But for me, I think I've said it a few times before. I genuinely think he's the best box-to-box midfielder in the league. I think he's incredibly underrated, as you say, in terms of maybe outside of Kirkcaldy. I think that everyone inside the Rovers appreciates what he does for the club and how much effort and energy. That was the sort of soundbite that came out of the social media from all the players when they were asked one word to describe Scott Brown. One player described him as a tatty. I don't know if I'd go that far, but Blair, is it quite reassuring to see how willing Scott Brown was to stay? I mean, he brought it up in his interview that he was out of contract at the end of the summer, and the next thing you know, he's got a new deal slapped down on the table and he signed it. So are you quite happy about that?
Yeah, I'm delighted. I mean, I said it on Twitter the other day that he kind of epitomises for me everything that I want in a footballer, everything that I think every football fan wants in a player in their team. His hard work, his drive, his energy, he leads for the front, he holds others accountable, he's kind of everything that you want. And he's genuinely got all the makings of being a genuine Rovers legend. Like, you get these players that every so often you think to yourself, 20 years time we'll be talking about, I remember we had Scott Brown in the midfield, and I genuinely think he's got that about him. He's got that kind of capability, that potential. So getting him signed up is massive. But I think you're right. It's good that, because he's another one. You've got to look at it again. We've talked about changing the manager and stuff, and it can be a bit of a risk with some of the players. And he played part-time for a while, and he spoke a lot about how Murray had brought him to the club, and he'd kind of taken a gamble on him, and in return, Brown had taken a bit of a gamble on Murray, because I think he'd had offers in the past to go back to full-time football and had turned them down. So to come back to the full-time football with a manager, and then that manager's gone, there's always that kind of my contract's up in the summer, I'll maybe just see how it goes. But I think it's a marker in terms of where Collins is and where the club is, that he still sees this as a journey that he wants to be on, kind of thing. So I think from both sides it's a really important bit of business, actually, a really, really good bit of business. I'm
straying into John Hughes territory here again, but I do this quite regularly, surprisingly. But the phrase "good honest laddie" seems to strike my mind with Scott Brown. I feel like just when you listen to his interviews, he just comes across and just call it as it is. He's just very straightforward, and you know what to expect, which is great. Scott, did you enjoy the highlight reel that was coming out there with all those long distance screamers that Scott Brown seems to be very good at arriving at the edge of the box? He did say in his interview that he was wanting a bit more goals. What did you think of that? And just your thoughts on the signing in general, the new contract for him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just touching on the extension itself, I was over the moon when it was announced. I think it was obviously one of the players that you're going, right, if we really want to try and continue sort of building for the future to be pushing for promotion in the Championship, we've probably got to have Scott Brown in our midfield as our captain. Like, that's, I think the way that he's led the team. I mean, obviously, when he came in whilst Ross Matthews was injured, and Ross Matthews was going forward supposed to be the sort of on-field and club captain. Now, I think Scott Brown said when he came in that he was happy to take it on until Matthews got back, and it ended up like Matthews just kept getting delayed with this injury, and it's now not even been a question like ever since then. Like, everyone's like, no, Scott Brown's the captain now, and even Ross Matthews is kind of I don't think Matthews is the sort of guy to kick up a fuss about it anyway, but he's just kind of went, well, look, Brunei's doing such a good job, just leave him to it, and he's one of our best players, and we've missed him massively in the first couple of months of the season. But in terms of his sort of goals and stuff, you know that if Scott Brown scored, it's usually been a fair old strike, whether it's a one through with the laces or he's curled one in for a decent distance or whatever. But and I touched on it on the podcast on Sunday, that the way that he arrives late in the box, it does remind me. I'm not saying that he's anywhere near as good, but it reminds me of Scott McTominay in a Scotland shirt. Like, that's what he is sort of been made into in the last sort of few years since he's been in the Scotland squad. So I think if we can continue just getting these sort of performances out of him, I'm glad that we've managed to get another couple of years out of him. I mean, he's still only, I think he's 29, something like that. So
yeah,
he's kind of
He was saying he's just about to turn 30 soon.
Yeah, so he's still pretty much at the peak of his powers. So I think we've got him at a really good time, and hopefully we get a lot more from him.
I think one of the things you look at when you're signing players or re-signing players, as we have with Edmonds, is if we do manage to do what we're aiming to do and get up to the Premiership, can they make the step up? And I have absolutely no doubt that if you put him into a Premiership team, he just takes it in his stride, because he's just so hard-working and puts himself around a bit and takes care of himself and just does all the basic things well, that he would just adjust. You would need better players around him, but I have no doubt he could make the step up.
I did enjoy his little bit of mischief that he had on Twitter, where after signing the contract, Blair, what did you make of that? Saying that Frankie Dabo's going to be next.
I thought it was fantastic. Just
floating
that idea and getting it out there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's one of them that you don't know if he's just read stuff on Twitter and somebody's mentioned, I hope it's Frankie Dabo, and it turns out it's him, and that's just him having a dig back. Or if there is talks, who knows? I suppose you've just got to wait and see, but that was, I like that. I would imagine
that if we're talking, if we've signed a deal with Scott Brown, you would expect that we're there's something going on with Frankie Dabble, but again, when time will tell. You don't know whether he's just on, as you say, just on the wind up, just to sort of, because he knows that people will get talking about it. So
those conversations, you imagine, are going on across the board, because they'll be talking to Big Kev, and they'll be talking to everybody that's out of contract, I would imagine. Whether or not they're planning on keeping them, I think they'll be. I just get the feeling they'll be a wee bit more open about things. So even if you know you're not getting signed on next season, sort of thing, I think those conversations need to be had as well.
They'll just put it on a laptop and leave it sitting on a desk somewhere.
Yeah.
Classic. So yeah, we'll look ahead now to Saturday. Just Allan, just a real opportunity. We've got Greenock Morton coming to town. They beat us obviously last time out, relatively convincingly in the second half. An opportunity for revenge. Do you think that's more to the fans' focus rather than the players?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we love a good cliche on this podcast, and the players will be looking at nothing else other than going out there and trying to get 3 points. They don't care who they're playing. None of that matters. It's just about going out there and getting the job done. From our point of view, absolutely, we want to get one right up them, because why wouldn't you? But it's almost, in terms of form of the kind of opposition, it's probably the best game you could get, but it's, as long-suffering Rovers fans, it's possibly also the worst possible game you can have, because you never feel confident going in as favourites, and that, ultimately people will be expecting us to win this game. I'm expecting us to win this game, and I don't feel comfortable with that. So but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a good chance to for a couple of players to maybe right a few wrongs, if you like, from that game at Cappielow, where the performance level just wasn't good enough in that second half, and there'll be a few players wanting to maybe kind of show Morton what they're actually capable of.
Yeah, Blair, you made the trip down to Cappielow for the first game. Do you think that there's a fair amount that we could have taken from that game in terms of learning from it, or do you think it was just given that it was so early in Neill Collins' reign that we were a bit...
I bloody hope they learned a thing or two from it, to be honest with you, because it wasn't that early in his reign, to be fair. It was really no very good. I mean, Dabble played, so it was far enough on that the players, I mean, Finlay Pollock played, so the squad that we have now is not a million miles. In fact, actually, it'll be all the same bodies, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really a game of two halves. The first half, we were decent without ever really doing anything, and then second half, it just didn't turn up at all. I think the more worrying thing for me is the fact that I don't know whether we just made them look good that day, or whether they were actually decent. But the former kind of feels more likely, because since that, I mean, they played Ayr on Friday night last week and drew 1 each. That was the first time they'd scored since we played them. Do you know what I mean? Which is not a good run of form by any stretch of the imagination, and doesn't bode particularly well for how they're playing. They've had a fair few changes as well. I think has the goalkeeper been injured?
Yeah,
since we played.
He's back now. He played against Livingston. I was going to bring that up as a point. He's obviously key player returning.
Because he was decent, to be fair. He had a pretty good game, I thought. But I don't know, like the first half, it felt like we were by far the better team in that game. But we just didn't turn up. So I hope they've learned a lot. And I actually, kind of counter to Alan's point, I hope they are looking for revenge. I would hope that the players are looking at the game and thinking, oh my word, we need to actually kind of put that one to bed a little bit. Because as far as second half performances go, we've had a few stinkers, particularly this season. Actually, it was murder.
Yeah,
I'm looking for Dylan Easton to score and then just point to Andy Millen or something, aren't you? Just because he's the one player who would probably do it.
That would be class.
Surprise me. But Scott, just to come back to yourself just now, did you manage to catch the draw against Ayr? And if so, like, what were your thoughts about the game and the result for Morton?
Sorry, what game?
The 1-1 draw between Morton and Ayr last week.
Oh, right, I caught bits. I was out, I think, for the first half. I caught bits of the second half. I mean, from the highlights that I seen on the SPFL sort of page, it didn't really look like a great game, to be honest. And to be fair, Morton at home usually isn't a great game anyway. Who they're playing, it doesn't matter. But no, it didn't. And the fact that Ayr aren't in great form either, I think that just kind of summed it up really. And Blair touched on it because it was something I was going to mention, was the fact that Morton have only managed to score 1 goal since they played us. They've also conceded the most in the whole league since playing us. So, like, I get what Alan's saying, that, like, we didn't feel comfortable with this, but, like, everything is lined up to say, like, this is the sort of game that if you want to move up the table, you have to be winning these games. Like, without sounding too harsh, like, this is the sort of game that we have to go out and win. Whether it's a stinking 1-0 win, I don't care. It has to be 3 points.
I think I said exactly the same thing in the pre-match the first time we played them that week. I think I genuinely said exactly the same thing. I'm like, if you're going to be, Morton away, I know it's an away game, I know it'll be tough, but if you want to be at the top end of this table, Morton, you need to be that's a team you need to be beating.
Yeah, I think that's, in all honesty, I don't think there's much wrong with that comment. And I can see that if Morton fans are listening to that, they probably are aggrieved with it and they would be unhappy about it. But look,
this isn't for you.
Exactly. But I think from a Rovers fan's perspective, you've got to be thinking, like, okay, who are these teams that I'd probably call them sort of like, without being dismissive, your sort of bread and butter, the teams that you need to beat to know that you'll be able to get into the playoffs. Like, and this is definitely one of them, where Morton they've made a lot about how much money that we've spent over the last few years on their side. And yeah, for that you expect some form of return, and a return would be 3 points. So yeah, we will see how it goes. I think that form-wise, they've, in the last 5 in the league, they've drawn 2 and they've lost 3, including a really heavy loss to Falkirk. So it's just very optimistic about this one on Saturday, but then at the same time, you're having to temper it at the same time. Yeah, because you know what it's like. We've been here many a time before where you think, yeah, this is an opportunity to kick on, and then it turns out to be the other way.
Also, we only win games by a goal, basically, so.
Yeah, well, maybe not this season. We'll see what happens.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
I think a big thing with Morton, isn't it, is that they're having a bit of a identity crisis, aren't they? Because they've always been kind of big, tough, kind of hard to beat, physical. Despite what Dougie says, they absolutely are. And, he tried to get them playing a bit of football this season with that squad. I've no idea why. And it hasn't worked. And ultimately, they're starting to kind of maybe revert to type a wee bit. And you're seeing fans on Twitter and stuff saying that's a bit more like it. And they're seeing a bit more of kind of what they're used to. And you just know he's going to have them fired up for Saturday. And they're going to revert to type very much on Saturday, I think. And I'm here for every little bit.
I was going to say, I was waiting for someone to jump in.
I'm in the living room, so it's one of the dogs. It's the kind of, Scott Brown's going to absolutely wrap that up.
Yeah, so referee for Saturday, we've got Mr. Dan McFarlane, who you may remember from the 3-2 loss to Cally Thistle last season. He also refereed the second game at Airdrie, away there, where he sent off Ross Milne after the game. And he's also refereed the game against Morton before that we've lost as well. We lost 1-0 through an Alex King goal. And Tom Lang got sent off. So all the omens are not looking good referee watch-wise for Saturday.
They never do, though. To be fair, you could pretty much pick any referee in the league and it'll be a pretty similar story.
Well, it's a tough ask, but it's just really, it's bad that you're at a point where you're looking at the stats before, just wondering, like, okay, because you're going to get someone bad. It's just a question of which one it is that you're actually getting.
Exactly.
So we'll come on to the Rovers. Just going to check with you, Blair, just to start off. I know that we've touched on this a few times, but do you think the formation's going to hinge upon the availability of Sam Stanton?
The idea. Honestly, we're now at a point where, I mean, obviously the game on Saturday past. I said before in the post match, you had to start with the 3 at the back. You couldn't not after the performance the week before. But by the same token, the second half was so good before at the back
Mhm.
He's now got to start with 4 at the back, and I'm not really sure kind of where he goes. It's a really good headache to have, and I've said before that the fact that we genuinely are now at a stage where, and we kind of got here with Murray last year as well, where we basically don't know what formation he's going to play. It kind of makes it difficult for teams to set up against us. That said, I do think Morton are going to just do what Morton are going to do anyway. I can't see them changing much depending on what they think we're going to do. What I do think is quite nice is that I think now he's got the tools to effectively set up to suit the opposition that he wants to play, kind of thing. So again, I don't see them playing with particular width. They've got a relatively kind of big striker that they want to get the ball into. But this might be a game where the 3 at the back can suit us in the way that it did against Ayr, and the way it didn't against Partick. So it might be an option that he goes back to, just in the sense that it'll give us the kind of the width that we need to push forward. But honestly, at this point, Christ, he could play 6 at the back or 2 at the back this week. I've no idea.
Yeah, it's. I think the point that you made about their forwards will be interesting, because they've signed Austin Samuels, who was at Cali Thistle before. Now, I don't really know too much. I know that he has scored before against us at Starks, but then that's probably for quite a lot of the Cali players, a recurring theme, unfortunately. But yeah, whether they'll try and maybe potentially utilise his pace or sort of his energy up top rather than sort of going to Stuparevic, is it?
But he's the boy they signed. They signed him the day that they played. Was it Hamilton? And they played them. Did they play them on the telly? I think. And he signed for them that day. And then there was a clip of him. He had basically a sitter in the second half and fell over the ball.
Yeah.
So
he scored against Livy in the
that's right.
Challenge Cup during the week. So you'd imagine that. I mean, if you're going to be keeping your players, I know that we've sort of said it about Jamieson and Hamilton. Like, you can't really drop them if they're scored. Kind of done their job. So yeah, want to keep an eye on for Saturday. Allan, just for yourself, just say it quietly. I know that we sort of touched on it before, but do you think Andrew Barrowman spoke before about relighting the fire? Do you think that's kind of kindling? New contract for Scott Brown, the positive words of Neill Collins, and just the feeling about the club, maybe getting a wee bit more back to where we were before last season?
I would say so. You know, despite what some commenters on Twitter seem to think about how the club's going, no, I absolutely do. I think it does feel like we're back moving in the right direction again, with a bit of a stumble. But I like a lot of what we're doing under Collins. I like the way he speaks before and after a game, and I think, you know, you touched on it on the podcast on Sunday about the way he changed the formation. You know, he's not someone who's married to a formation. He'll change things if it's not working. He's got that kind of plan B that is so often talked about being missing in certain teams. So I think, I've got a pretty good feeling about where we're going now. Don't get me wrong, I've been there before and come crashing down the earth. So it's that whole, you don't want to be too positive, do you? Because the more positive you get, the more painful the fall is. But no, there's a lot to like about what we're doing now, and I think it's about getting through the rest of the year and then see what we do in January.
Yeah, 100%. I've been there before, certainly myself, and I find it infuriating that when you try and be positive about the situation in true happy clapper style, like I am, and then you come back and it's you lose a game, and the next thing you know, people are like, "Well, we were telling you about this." But again,
it'd be interesting to speak to the ones that were miserable. Maybe we talked about it last year, about the ones who were still miserable. Like, well, we're sitting top of the league at Christmas and all that kind of stuff, and doing really well, and there were still folk greeting about everything. And I think it was Ian Latto that had spoken about it initially, and it was like that thing of, you know, if you can't enjoy this, what are you ever going to enjoy? Like, how are they guys feeling now? They must be absolutely crushed.
I have no idea how you would handle it personally, but it's not a problem that I've got to worry about in my life, because I'm happy clapping away. But again, it's, you know, personal opinions and things like that. Scott, just with this weekend coming up, because of the way that I know it's been touched on in the media a fair little bit, but first place second, third place fourth, fifth place sixth, we're playing, and then you've got 9th and 10th, Airdrie, Dunfermline, and that relegation battle down there. Just, do you think it's a really big opportunity in the fact that we can either leapfrog Accies or we can close the gap on Morton? So do you think this is really a big opportunity for Rovers this weekend to potentially make a big statement of intent?
Yeah, I mean, if in an ideal world, I think this weekend, if we could get a win and there's 4 other draws in the division, I think that would probably be the best outcome. And I wouldn't even put it past that there could be loads of draws this weekend. The fact that everybody's playing the team that's literally beside them in the league. So, no, I think, that I also go back to like just the fact that our home record this season has been pretty decent. Like, I mean, I think the only league loss at home is the Livy one that was in the last minute that very nearly was a point. So, I think we've been absolutely fine at home. It's been on the road that we've really struggled this year for some reason, which I think I said it a few weeks ago that it was the opposite last season where we were actually, I think at one point we won something like 7 or 8 away games in a row last season. And I don't think I've seen that really, other than maybe down in sort of League One days and stuff like that. So I thought it's just how it's worked out so far this season. But no, I think Morton, the fact that they're sort of kind of toiling a wee bit in terms of the start of the season, not too bad. They were kind of like the championship version of Dumbarton this season, where Dumbarton went and they were like 6 draws in a row or something in the first 6 games, and then everyone's like, oh, Morton seem to be doing all right. And it's like, but they've not beat anyone. They've just not managed to lose yet. And then they've lost basically every other game since they played us. It's a weird one, but I just hope that we can get the 3 points and then close that gap to the likes of Partick and Queens are the sort of teams that we're really needing to sort of rein in now. And I suppose Ayr to an extent as well, but I think the top 2 just now are a wee bit away to even be thinking about. I think we need to just try and rein in 4th place and try and keep that sort of playoff sort of promotion hope alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I know that we've spoken about it before as kind of a joke, but Ayr are complete free fall just now. So I can see them really sliding down the table at quite a rapid rate, because I just don't see how they're going to arrest their form. But then again, it's just, you know how things are. People probably looked at us earlier this season and thought, oh, Rovers can't turn it round. But then here we are and we're moving in a positive direction. Blair, just with the Rovers record, we've actually got quite a positive record against Morton. So it's 21 wins, 13 draws, and 11 losses over sort of that period of time that is laid out. I think it's Soccer Stats, is it, the website that I was using earlier on, basically breaking down the full picture there. So I think it's just over sort of like 57% or so in terms of the stats for how we're doing. I'll just go and check that now. But yeah, just, do you think that gives a cause for optimism that we seem to be a bit of a problem team for Morton?
I think it would be, had they not beaten us already this season. I suppose you've just got to take each game as it comes. I'm never a massive follower of these kind of stats, because like, how many of those games will have involved any of the players that are going to be on the pitch on Saturday, and how much does that actually impact on what they're doing? I don't know. I think what I would be kind of looking at the moment is the fact that we seem to have kind of corrected ourselves in the sense that our home form has picked up, at least. Our away form is a work in progress after Saturday, but our home form has certainly been decent. And you've got to kind of hope that we go into the game with a bit of confidence. We're kind of unbeaten in 3, 2 wins and a draw, and actually the performances have been really good. So you've just got to hope that we kind of go into the game and take it, kind of, I suppose, like what Allan said earlier on, that kind of one game at a time thing. Just go out and do what you do. Because I still think, even from watching that game at Cappielow earlier in the season, you put the two teams against each other, I still think we're the better side. Like I don't even think any honest Morton fan would have been looking at that game and thinking that they were a better side than us that day. They were more effective, absolutely. We were dross in the second half. But in terms of actual, man for man and squads and kind of talent and all that kind of stuff, we're definitely on paper at least a better side. So you've got to hope that we put that kind of home form to fruition and get a couple of goals. It'd be nice again. It kind of feels like we need this is so dangerous to talk about, but we do kind of need a good win. Like we need to cuff somebody. We've been saying this for 2 years, but we need to cuff somebody. We do. And who better than Dougie Imrie and his merry band of Morton? Like, I don't know. It feels, it's actually going back to repeat what Allan said earlier on. It is the perfect game for us. But by a lot of ways, it's also the worst game that can come round, because if you don't do well on Saturday, you're going, man, we're just actually not very good.
Yeah. I mean, the stats that I pulled up earlier, just to go back to them just really quickly, because I totally butchered them. Basically, 45 matches, 47% of those have been Rovers wins, so that's 21. 29% were draws, so that's 13 draws, and 11 wins for Morton. So we've got a decent track record against them, but again, that counts for nothing. So, yeah, I do agree, though. I feel like if you look at the teams that we've lost to so far, I don't feel that any team that we have dropped points to in the sense of losing. Like, we've already beaten Ayr, and I feel like that was more like the Rovers that we know and love compared to the Ayr, the teams that we were playing with down at Somerset Park. Those two games, Dunfermline away. Again, not really convinced by them. Airdrie, we beat Airdrie, albeit unconvincingly, thanks to the game up at Stars Park. So yeah, I feel like it's such a tight league, but at the same time, I don't feel like any team that we've lost to, without being disrespectful, you still look at the squads and I still feel like we should be winning them, and I don't feel like we should be intimidated by any stretch of the imagination. Not that,
but I mean, if you look at the table, that's the thing. You look at the table, and actually, there's the only team that we haven't taken points off that are above us is Livingston.
Yeah,
and by all accounts, like we should have taken something off of them. But the only two other teams we haven't taken any points off are Morton and Dunfermline.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Who are very much below us at this point. But yeah, I don't know.
I think a lot of it comes down to sort of just the belief, though, and just sort of I feel like the squad over the last couple of games, there's been a bit more there, and that, like, sure, we didn't start the Partick game well. Partick could have been out of sight by half time, but then to show the resilience to come back into it and to dominate the second half for a large part of it, because I don't feel like a lot of teams will go to Firhill and do that as well. So yeah, it's all about putting down a marker, really. Allan, just to come back to you, do you think there's going to be any surprises in the lineup? What are your thoughts going into it?
No, I don't think there will. I think we'll go back to 4-2-3-1. Hopefully Stanton comes back in. And I think if he does, you'll probably see him playing the 10 with Easton out on the left. I suppose, given the limited starts he's had this season, maybe Gibson starting would be considered a bit of a surprise. It's what I'd go with personally. I'd bring him in from the start. So yeah, I mean, I suppose that would be potentially a surprise for us.
Yeah. So we'll go to the lineups and predictions now. Allan, have you got a lineup there?
Yeah, so I mean, it's big Kevin goals, obviously. As he going with the back four, so Dabo and Stevenson, Hanlon, absolutely, and I think Liam Dick did enough last week to keep his place. So I'd probably go with that. I'd probably go with Burnham Brown in the middle, and then I don't think Stanton will come back in for the start if he's been injured. So I think the kind of three of Easton, Gibson, and Pollock, and then I'd probably go with Hamilton up front. I feel like you need that kind of physical presence up there, because The other three are kind of tricky and quick, but they've not got that kind of strength that you kind of want to add something up there. So I'd go with Hamilton and up front.
It's funny to think that we're in a position where, if you considered last year that if you told someone that was watching us last season, you can have Murray, Hanlon, and Fordyce all playing for Rovers and all fit, but you'll still be considering Liam Dickin there as a left-sided centre half and a back four. You would be thinking, right, okay, what's the catch here? Blair, would you agree with that? Where are you going for your lineup?
Oh, I really don't know. I still don't think after Saturday that he's going to drop Jameson. I thought he did more than enough on Saturday to warrant his place. My worry is if you play 4-2-3-1, does he have to put him out wide again? Because I really don't like him out wide. I don't like it at all. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to see it. I'm not here for it.
You don't need to play him then.
And it's that thing of, what's that?
You don't need to play him then.
No, but the thing is, like, it's. I feel for him a little bit because he's the drop off and the difference between him up top and him out wide is massive. Like he's all right out wide. Like he does fine. He's okay, but he's actually really effective up front. He's really effective up top. So I think if he goes 4-2-3-1, I'd like to see Jameson up top on his own. I do think he'll go back three. I think he'll go back to basically the same starting 11 or close to the same starting 11 as what he had at Partick. Because I think the difference, like I said before, is I don't think they've got the width that Partick have. And so we can kind of exploit them a little bit more down the sides. So I'd go back to the same back three as Saturday. I'd put Dabo on the right and Stevenson on the left. I'd go with Brown and Byrne in the middle of it, and then keep Easton in the sort of middle as well if we can, and then have Jameson up top. I just don't see him. I don't see him dropping him at all. My worry is that I don't think Hamilton's the kind of player that is effective off the bench. He doesn't seem to get up to the speed of the play quite as well. But I will wait and see. I don't even know if that was 11. Was that 10?
Yeah, you're doing that, and I'm literally writing down.
Yeah, I'm just as I was going through that, I'm thinking,
sure I've got my full.
I'm thinking I'm one short. Maybe
I
Pollock.
was just about to say, it doesn't matter if Hamilton's not good for it.
Yeah, stick Pollock in. I don't think Hamilton and Jameson worked. Disappointingly, surprisingly, I don't think it worked. I'd like to see a bit more pace.
Is that more down to the fact that we didn't have Sam Stanton? Because it did work against Ayr.
Exactly, with Hamilton kind of in the sort of the
pocket,
the 10 role rather than the 9.
Yeah, but I mean, did it? I don't know if it did, because we were more exactly. We were more attacking and more threatening when it was Smith, because it seemed to be a bit more kind of fluid with Jameson than what it did with Hamilton. Although I thought Hamilton did quite well when he came on against Ayr, he wasn't as good as he is when he starts. I think I would drop Hamilton. I think is where I'm at. I don't think I'd play him. So yeah, a bit of pace, a Pollock or a Gibson in there. Just let them run about.
That's the cornerstone of any great football management there, Blair. Just let them run about. Let them do what they want.
Run about, Sam.
That's fine. That's fine by me. Scott, for you.
Yeah, I think I was trying to count how many. I think I've only really brought in Stanton and Pollock into my team for this week. I think I would go back to a back four as well. I just think that it's part of also keeping teams guessing, to be honest. I think Morton might go, well, they've been doing well with this back three, so they might think that they're just going to stick with it. And yet then we go with a back four. But I think the team that I would go with anyway would be obviously Kevin goals, Dabo at right back, Stevenson at left back. And I'm at the same, and it's weird because I've got two out and out centre halves on the bench, but yeah, I've got Liam Dick playing at left centre half. But I said it on Sunday, he's a better centre half than he is a fullback. Like, so, and I just think that he seems to be playing well there. So, whilst he's playing well, I just keep playing him. It probably means that Hanlon has to play on the right hand side of that, and he is left footed. But I mean, I think he'll be fine. He's played enough. He's probably played enough times on that side as well for Hibs. I've got Bruni and Byrne in that sort of two. Where in the midfield, where I've got Pollock in on the right, Easton on the left. I'm just going the fact that it was apparently just a little niggle. I was just thinking the Stanton will probably be back this weekend, but I think we'll probably get tomorrow the manager's pre-match stuff. So we might get an insight whether he is available or not. But and then obviously Jack Hamilton up front, and again it's a case of you wonder who's going to miss out from the whole squad entirely. Obviously, we've noticed it's been Connolly in recent weeks, but he has chopped and changed. Freeman's been in and out of that, and so has I think Montague's been once or twice been left out as well. So you never know. Connolly could be back in, and it could be somebody else that's left out. So it'll be interesting to see just the bench again, to see just what he goes for, and the fact that we've just got options on the bench if it isn't going great, or we need a bit of a spark or whatever. Because when you seen the likes of Pollock and Gibson come on last Saturday, it really did kind of just, it almost was like what we had been saying for weeks, going, can you imagine if we get the two of them on against somebody and just going at folk? That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And you look at O'Reilly and Milne, there was at one point Milne, I think he was trying to fake he was injured or something, just the fact that Pollock done him for pure pace. But it's because Milne was absolutely knackered and played 70 minutes of football, and Pollock was fresh. So like you're wondering if you can get that against most teams, most weeks. I think the likes of Gibson and Pollock will probably beat most fullbacks in terms of pace and just energy, the fact that they're so young and just willing to run at their opponent all the time. But I think I would just go back to the back four, as I say, and hopefully whatever formation he puts out, I'm the same as Blair. Just can we go and cuff Morton? Like, because I'm the same. I'm all for getting 3 points, but it would be nice if we could just talk about a 3-0 win or something, like on Sunday.
4 or 5.
I would certainly have no complaints, and it would make our post-match podcast very entertaining as well.
Could you imagine? We've never done a podcast off the back of like a 5-0 win. That'd be so good.
Roth last season, but
oh yeah, that's true.
There's always receipts, isn't there?
That was rubbish.
Funnily enough, receipts going to be a topic of conversation in this week's programme. So yeah, got that to look forward to. So yeah, just for me, again, hinges on whether Sam Stanton's fit. If Stanton is fit, I would actually go with the back three. Again, I think defensively it's a bit of a nightmare to figure out who you're actually putting in there. Aside from Kev, are you keeping Liam Dick in there? Is Ewan Murray going to come back in? Whether you would potentially have 4 dice. I think Hanlon's pretty much the only guarantee if you're centre back. That's the thing I would say at the moment. Stevenson and Dabo being your sort of full, your wing backs. Brown and Byrne at the base of midfield with Stanton doing a lot of the running. And then I've just realised, it's just, do you go with Easton? Do you add him in there? Jameson, Hamilton, you're wanting a bit of pace. You're sort of seeing Kirk Broadfoot in there. And I don't think he's actually been as bad based on what the Morton fans have been saying as people have made out this season. Broadfoot.
Maybe not, but he's not getting pace in a year.
Yeah, he's not getting any quicker. That's the main point. I think that's very astute to say, Scott. But yeah, so I mean, it's hard enough to sort of predict it ourselves as to what you would actually do if you were in Neill Collins' shoes. So I can't imagine what it's like being a scout for Morton, trying to figure out what we're actually going to do, given the fact that we've not got a clue either. And I know that you can say we don't have a clue about most things, but this is really like properly, we don't actually have any idea whatsoever. So yeah. Blair, what are you going for your prediction for the score?
5-0.
5-0. Would love that. Scott?
I'd love it. I just can't see it, but
No, I know.
I'm even thinking I'm being ridiculous here, but I'll go 3-0. I do think we are due. We've been saying it for weeks, but we are due a game that we win by a few goals and it's comfortable and we just look a lot better than like a Morton side that we're saying that we're a lot better than on paper. Let's just go and prove that we are and try and sort of create that gap where we're separating the sort of league into two like separate leagues again. Because then if we win and the other teams all chop points down the bottom, you are pretty much getting to like a sort of a 10-point gap between us and the rest of them. So I'll go 3-0, but I think even I'm being carried away with it.
Allan, how about for you?
4-0. Why not? I'm getting caught in the way. To be fair, I was thinking that anyway, and I think it's one of those. It's such a. I'm going to use that word again, cliche thing that football fans say in it, but we're due to give somebody one. We really are. We're creating chances. There's a few guys who are kind of on the cusp of starting to play really well, and we're due to give somebody one. And you know what? If Dougie Imrie's got this kind of recorded, just ready to come with his wee comments on Twitter and his wee laughing smileys or whatever it was he put on your comment, bring it on. If we fall flat on our face, I am willing to take whatever abuse comes my way. But 4-0.
I'm absolutely here for stuff like that. By the way, I thought that was fantastic. Like, there's no sour grapes on my part there. I think it's just I've got a bookmark, so if we do finish above them at the end of the season, it's getting hauled up, no doubt. But like, I'm sure it'll be the same. And I'll go for a 3-0 Rovers win. Again, nothing against Morton. Well, actually, everything against Morton.
Everything against Morton.
I'm just confident in Rovers, and I just feel like we have been playing good football, and that with the options that we've got, we can really put down a marker and kick on. And I would love it to be a really, really convincing win, as Blair says. I feel like it would just be, again, we've had results that have been good before, and we've not sort of seen it as turning a corner. Now this is an opportunity to really sort of kick on and potentially move forward to that. But we will see how it goes. Just a couple of points. Firstly, about Saturday, it has been mentioned on social media that there are going to be food bank donations on the ramp on Saturday before the game. So if you do have the opportunity, if you can bring along some sort of tinned food or anything, then
I think it's only tinned food, this one as well, is it not? They're doing different. I think just from reading the thing on social media today, it's different things every time. So this one's just tinned food. Absolutely
fine. And then secondly as well, of course, Graham Meldrum will be at the Fife Football Programme Fair. I know that we mentioned it last week. That's going to be this Sunday, so Sunday 16th of November, Hill of Beef ex-Servicemen's Club, between 10:30 and 2 o'clock. So if you want to go and see some memorabilia up there, then feel free to check that out. Blair, I was actually just thinking there, just before we go into Should McStayr, Should Dargo, you must have been one of the rare people to actually get into the stadium for the last time that we cuffed Morton 5-0.
Yeah, I was. I'm trying to think now, because it would have been...
And can you remember who one of the goal scorers was?
Bullet I can't remember. Nah, it's escaping
I remember
me. I was there.
Scoring a really good team goal that day.
Aye, that was one of them. But the other was a bullet header from Nando Mendy. It's only goal for the Rovers.
Yeah, that's right.
Aye.
Yeah. That's right, because I remember it was the fifth one, I think. And I remember being absolutely gutted because the stadium was empty.
That place would have been bouncing if we'd seen that.
It would have been, aye.
What a guy.
It would have been.
I've seen a few games where we've beaten Morton 5-0 at starts before, actually. I remember the season that we had Cappielow and Jamie Walker on loan.
I remember a Ryan Hardy hat-trick as well. I think we beat them 5-0 or 5-1 at Starks. Hardy scored a hat-trick.
I don't know if it might have been the season after, but certainly I remember Hardy scoring a last-minute winner where he rounded the keeper because he was so excellent at doing that. That lad just loved taking on goalkeepers and just making them look daft. So we'll move into Should McStayr, Should Dargo, everyone's favourite game. So 6 questions about a forward or current Raith Rovers player, all tied up. So, yeah, I'll just start with clue number 1. I have had 3 spells at Raith, including John McGlynn's Mark 1 for 2 of them.
For 2 of them?
Yeah.
Right.
Do we have any opening bids? You got your eater question straight out the way there, Blair.
Have I?
I was about to say, Blair might get this straight away because of that.
I'm thinking 3.
And 2 of them were with
3.
McGlynn straight away.
Oh, wait now. Hang on.
Did he get this straight away?
What was his name? I'm going to get this wrong and I'm going to look really stupid. David... Is it? No, it wasn't. No, it's not.
David Smith.
What was his
David
name?
Smith.
Is it Smith?
Yep.
David Smith. He was the
He's an
loan player for
player.
Yeah.
Hearts.
Yep.
Yeah, David Smith. I'm trying to think if he had 2 loan spells
He
and then he signed.
definitely, I think, came twice. I'm not sure about 3.
Yeah.
Scott, have you got any guesses, Alan?
Nah, the thing is, it's like that. That's quite a guessable, like, first clue, I know. You would think somebody that's had 3 spells at the club would kind of stand out.
I can think of one player, but I don't know that he would have been that early.
Who are you thinking?
John Baird was with us 3 times, was he not?
Yep, John Baird. Is that your guess?
I'll go with it.
Cool.
Did you say that was it his first 2 spells, or just 2 of his spells were with McGlynn?
2 of his spells were under John McGlynn.
Mark 1. Which rules out Baird because his second one was Mark 2.
I'll go.
Okay.
Just because you've not
third
said that he could have been there before McGlynn, then I'll go Laurie Ellis.
Yeah, I was thinking Ellis as well.
Right. Clue number 2.
I don't think he signed under McGlynn, went and came back though, did he?
No, I don't know. He bounced about for a wee bit, like,
He did,
and then kept going. I need to go back.
I'm not saying anything. I have played for 8 clubs in Scotland, including Berwick Rangers.
For goodness sake. This is going to be an in thing every week. Get Berwick involved.
Yeah, Eddie Malone, Berwick Rangers, and Sergio Busquets at an international level is the hallmarks.
So 8 clubs in Scotland, including Berwick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Laurie Ellis played for Berwick.
How many players that played for us 3 times? That really narrows it down more than it.
I know.
Oh, hang on. No, it wouldn't have been Mark 1. It'd be Mark 2. I was thinking Jamie Gullen.
Oh, no, he was well
2.
after that.
He was Mark 2.
There's a few others I could think of that have played for us multiple times, but I was trying to think if there were 3 and maybe the right era. But
I've not really got another guess after that clue, to be honest.
No.
You want me to just leave you as you are? Any guesses this round?
For me, anyway.
Craig Spence?
Greg Spence.
I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 times.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe twice.
Did he play under McGlynn the first time?
Oh, that's right. He was Smith, wasn't he? He came under Smith.
I think he...
I was trying to kind of think of if he was even playing back then, but obviously he scored the goal for Allan against Ayr when we won the league under McGlynn, but I couldn't remember how soon after, how long after that it was he came to us. But
It must be a player that's come on loan.
that's what, like...
That's what I keep thinking. McGlynn loved a loan signing.
It wasn't going to be Laurie Ellis. I was like, it has to be a loan player.
aye.
Yeah.
We one clue that we're all just going to get it at the same time, isn't there?
I don't think David Smith's a bad shout. I just wasn't sure if it was 3 stints.
I couldn't remember if he signed for us permanently at any point. I don't think he did he?
See, I've got a feeling he maybe was like a January signing until the end of the season or something.
Maybe. Because he definitely came back, because we had Walker, him and Holt all arrived together.
Yeah.
And Walker and Holt went back. And then, sorry,
Did
they
we
all
not
went back.
swap
And then I
them
think
for
it was
somebody
Holt.
else?
I think it was Holt and Smith came back for a second stint.
Did then we no get big Prichenko because Walker was
Prichenko,
taken?
yeah, that's right. He was pish. He was so bad.
Just leathering balls into Rosette in the South Stand and that.
Aye.
Free kick specialist.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with David Smith. I don't think it's right, but it's the best I've got.
Clue 3. I scored the final goal of the John McGlynn Mark 1 era.
I'm trying to remember. Was it?
So,
Who
spells that
who
Raith,
go for McGlynn?
including
was it
2
McGlynn?
under
No,
John McGlynn
Murray.
Mark 1.
Oh, that's what it was.
Played for 8 clubs in Scotland, including Berwick Rangers, and I scored the final goal of the John McGlynn Mark 1 era.
So he's heavily involved in McGlynn's first era, anyway.
So wait now, Grant Murray took over 2012
I think so, yeah.
when McGlynn went to Hart.
I think Murray was, 2012 to 2014? He was 2 or 3? It was
Yeah.
2 or 3 seasons.
I love how quickly this just turns into a
team
group
game.
effort.
A group effort, yeah.
We're just keen to get it right. Some of the
Any further bits?
Right.
Kevin Smith, was he in there as well?
I'll take that.
I know he played at least a couple of times because he was on loan at first, wasn't he, for United, I want to say.
Yeah.
That's a good shout. That's a very good shout. I don't know if he had... Did he have 3 spells with us, though?
I can't remember if he had a couple of loan spells before he became permanent or not. He's my guess. I'm going to go with him as a guess anyway, but for the lack of anything better.
It could be one
I
of the
think
Smiths.
that could be a really good shout, actually.
Nah, I've no... These are like 3 decent clues as well, but I've not even really got an
You
name
sound
for it.
very surprised about that, Scott. Like,
No,
It's like 3 like pretty gettable like clues.
It's not Scrabble.
Aye.
Yeah.
And it's
Not
not to
to
do
get
with
my-
sea level or
I've
anything.
got to get the compass out yet.
Just before clue 4 comes and Robbie drops a bomb into one ear.
Would you like another clue?
I think so.
Blair, you're looking...
I can't get out of my head. It's got to be somebody that came on loan.
Right.
And probably
So,
a
Yeah,
jam.
go. I'm beginning to think Alan's got it.
So just to recap the clues, I've had 3 spells at Raith, including 2 during John McGlynn's Mark 1 time. Played for 8 clubs in Scotland, including Berwick Rangers. I scored the final goal of the John McGlynn Mark 1 era. Across my 3 spells at Raith, now this is according to Transfermarkt, 52 games, scoring 13 goals. Wikipedia, I think, is definitely not true because it has 68 games and 39 goals.
Jesus. And
39
Duncan will
goals.
say that normally Wikipedia only goes by league. Like, no including all your Challenge Cup and League Cup and that. Because that's some difference, by the way, between the two.
They're all trying to frantically remember back to Raith stats, goal scorers of the 21st century now, aren't we?
So so you're going with that he scored 13 goals in, 50 games? Robbie?
Yes, I am going with... So it was 68 games, 39 goals.
That's
Or
the
no,
one you're
that was the
going with.
Wikipedia. That was the Wikipedia one. So it was 13
Which one are you
goals.
going with?
52 games. We're going with the transfer market. So 52 games, 13 goals.
See, if you're going with Wikipedia, I think Alan's probably got it right with Kevin Smith because he was pretty clinical for us, but the other one, I'm
He
not so
was.
sure.
I'm going to stick
I
with
don't
it
know
anyway.
I don't know if he played in that season though, because I'm trying to think that last season under McGlynn would have been the pink strip.
Aye, Brian Graham was there.
Brian Graham was there, but he's definitely not had 3 spells with us, so it's definitely
No.
no him.
But if we are saying that Kevin Smith, we've mentioned, has had 3 spells, that would mean that he would have had to come back after McGlynn and all, and I don't remember him coming back again after that time. Because he was basically just going to East Fife.
McGlynn never went in the middle of a season either, did he? He went in the summer.
At the end. He went in the summer.
So it would have been the last game of the season. If the player scored the last goal of the McGlynn era, it would have been the last game of the season. Fucking hell.
So, would you like clue 5?
Oh, wait a minute.
I've no
Pink.
really a name for you. So.
Pink strip. Who played? Oh, fuck, what's his name? Oh, I've got his first name, but if I say it, somebody else will get it.
Go on, say it.
I'll note it.
Say it.
Clark. Pat Clark. I was like, Pat, what was his surname? Pat Clark.
Clue
He
5.
must have been playing about that time.
I'm a centre forward who's played for every Fife club.
Oh, it is Pat Clark then, yeah.
Number 6. My first
He's not had 3 spells with the Rovers, is he?
I didn't think he did. That's what made me think I don't think it is Pat Clark.
My first goal for Raith came in 2005 against high-flying Clyde in a game where there was a smash involving Ian Davidson and John Potter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is indeed Pat Clark. So, yeah, he had...
How did he have 3 spells?
Because he came back on loan for half a season and then he signed in the summer for permanently on. So,
he didn't even have to use the clue that he has the same birthday as me either.
There you go.
He's exactly 5 years younger than me.
Give you all the era clues there.
By the way, he certainly didn't score 38 goals.
Well, that's what I was thinking when I saw Wikipedia. I was like...
13 and 52 sounds right.
I
was going to say, aye.
I don't know who's been editing his Wikipedia stats, but someone's been in there. Maybe Pat. Maybe it's... I don't know if he's got a family member that's particularly keeping an eye on it.
Birthdays, if we're going with any birthday clues, I know that if it's anything to do with Stanton, he's got the same as mine. So I'm covered on that one.
I'm exactly
that was the season that Jamie Walker and that were there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was the last season
yeah,
of
absolutely
McGlynn.
right. Yeah. So, that was his final spell. Was the season? So he basically came back on loan and then he signed permanently again. And then
was that not Morton as well?
Yeah, it was.
He scored last game of the season.
Yeah, he scored his final goal in a game against Dumbarton the season after, which was Grant Murray's first season in charge. But yeah, that's again topical because of score against Morton. But I didn't want to say against Morton for that clue because I did. You know what the funny thing about giving the clues is? You're always worried that someone's going to get on like the first or second because then you just
I genuinely thought for that first clue it was possible. Like,
there was a lot of good shouts in there though. That's the thing as well. Like,
I do think somebody will come out with Pat Clark quite early, just randomly. To be fair, it's probably, It's that sort of what.
It's that thing though. The three spells thing though. I mean, I'm not taking away from your clue at all. It's no really 3 spells though, is it? Because it's he kind of was on loan and then stayed as a permanent signing. That's where I was trying to think. I was like, did David Smith sign permanent? Because I know he was on loan twice, but
it's like saying if we've got a player that's had 5 spells, then it's only going to be Jamie Gullen because he had numerous times he came on loan.
Yeah, totally.
We're just waiting for number 6. Inevitable return at some point, no doubt. But no, and that will
That was a
round
good
us
one.
off nicely for
Good
this
game, mate.
episode. So yeah, we will no doubt be back after Saturday's game, where we can have a full debrief and hopefully a 5-0 scud in a Morton. But you know, we're not asking
How
too
good
much,
would that
lads. Just resurrect, and I'm sure Pat Clark played in one of those 5-0 scuddings before. That we've done,
Probably.
but we're not getting ahead of ourselves. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but someone uploaded a clip of Ian Murray's post and pre-match interviews. Allan, you might have seen this on Pie and Bovril on the match thread for the Morton game, and it's basically, I'll put a link in for it, but it's just basically Ian Murray saying, yeah, it's a tough game. It's a tough game. They're going to be a tough game. It's just basically continually the same cliche all the time. Brilliant stuff. Loved it. But yeah, we will be back for that at the weekend. But until then, bye for now. Blair, say the line.
Bye, Bob.